Hello everybody, my name is Sylvain Rochon and I'm getting people to expand their human experiences using cutting edge technology. In this case, the technology is, again, artificial intelligence. But more specifically, I want to talk about self-driven vehicles once more. More specifically, about, well, what will our world look like in the next few years with fully automated transportation system? How does it actually work? What are the trends that will lead to it? Well, right now, in the last few months, again, I'm collecting articles, I'm reading a whole bunch, and I'm following this very closely, as like I am always doing so for technology. And we talked about before that all the car manufacturers, Ford, Nissan, Mercedes, you name Hyundai, Toyota, maybe I mentioned one a few times, GM, anyway, a bunch, including Tesla and others, of course, that are entering the market that are not traditional but coming in. They're all aware of the game. They all have a rollout plan. Most of these companies, manufacturers, have self-driven vehicles planned, either level 4, level 5, some level 3, autonomy vehicles. Level 5 is fully automatic. You don't even have a steering wheel, right? Level 3 is half and half, and level 4 is some assistance by the driver is needed, especially in the city, things like that. Anyway, there's different levels, but they're all deploying between level 3 and level 5 vehicles around 2020. This is 2.5 years from now, just 2 years from now ish. Some a little bit before, some a little after. There's 1 or 2 years plus minus to that. So they're all fully invested, and you've seen it by looking at commercials where they are kind of easing us into this world of self-driven vehicles and feeling secure by doing ads about AI and deep learning. And some of them are, well, most of them are deploying luxury vehicle variants that have more and more autonomy to it, like self-driven parallel parking, staying in lanes, so more intelligent guided driving, for example, intelligent braking. You're not even putting the brakes, but it brakes for you. Things like that. They're adding elements of the fully self-driving vehicles into the cars, and they've been doing it for the last couple of years, or 2, 3, 4 years. And they're going to continue escalating that because they're just getting people used to being driven. And companies like Uber are making it easy to use an app, essentially, to get used to using an app to call on vehicles. And that's going to tie into the networks that are going to show up. Because if you take an example, like I write in my blog about Deutsche Post, DHL, which is arguably probably the largest or the largest delivery truck company or delivery company in the world, with 500,000 employees, and you're talking about Boeing and Airbus, which are huge companies. They're all putting a lot of money in developing their own fleets of self-driven vehicles, and these are big companies with like huge amounts of vehicles. These vehicles will be most likely networked together to learn from each other, because most of these AIs for self-driven vehicles are deep learning AI or something better. So they learn from their experiences on the road, and then if they're connected to the other vehicles or to a server through the cloud and whatever, then they are sharing their experiences, what they've learned, with the rest of the fleet. Now, these fleets, potentially, if the companies allow and if they want to do it, because it's really a choice, they can share what their fleets are learning with other networks that are handled by Mercedes or Ford or whatever other company, Tesla, whoever, right? And that creates like a potentially an international network of vehicles that are all connected. Now we're talking about delivery trucks. We're talking about trucks, trains, like in the Outback, in the Australian Outback. I know there's train systems that are testing automation in Europe as well, and. You got the passengers, you got drones, eVTOL, so vertical takeoff and landing vehicles that are all electric. All these systems can be connected together, not only for the learning purposes, but also for logistical purposes, which is more interesting to me even. Because then you got really, you can have a way smaller amount of vehicles that are available to people, but because they're all communicating, everybody knows the densities of populations, where people are calling vehicles most, in which areas, so to make sure there's vehicles that are available there, where in other areas they're not needed. So these vehicles can kind of ride around and be near the nuclei where vehicles are needed, so that when you use your app, Uber or otherwise, to call a vehicle, either because you need something delivered from a fulfillment office, i.e. Amazon or another, the system, the network already knows there's a certain amount of demand in certain areas. They already have a drone nearby. They already know that there's certain demand for these items, for example. So the fulfillment office already has these items in sufficient supply, and so you can get where you want to go by what means you prefer, and you can get items for yourself and your family very, very quickly, because there's no humans involved in deciding and measuring and analyzing. It's all done automatically. It's all webbed out, and the information is all spread. It can all be organized in a network fashion. So we are very efficient with the amount of vehicles that are needed, the areas. So we're saving energy. We're saving parking. A lot. About 20% of cities are parking areas. We don't need all the parking. We need moving vehicles, and so you need the streets, but you don't need the parking spots. So we can recuperate 20% of the city landmass. Of a city landmass, we can build parks or more lanes for vehicles, whatever. And with the third dimension area, where we have delivery and passengers flying up inside a city, for example, well, there's a lot less traffic. And because there's no idiots like me driving on the road that make mistakes, that can't drive very well, and whatever, there's no traffic. And it's all anticipated, and it's all dynamically changed through the network of transportation. So, for example, and I use this example a lot, you're hungry for something to eat in the evening, but you want to make it yourself. You want fresh produce. Well, you can order it using your smartphone, and it goes from the supply from the market to your kitchen through an automated system, completely automated. Ultimately, because we can do farms that are fully automated nowadays too. It can be networked with the farms. And the farms know how much produce to make every year, and there's enough in the fulfillment office to supply me for my demand and other families. I receive it within a few minutes, and I can cook myself because I enjoy cooking, right? And do it all for myself, by myself, according to my demand. And it's very quick, efficient. There's very, very minimal loss of food in the transit, because they anticipate the amount of food that are consumed in different areas for different people and so on, because of experience, and they learn from year to year, and they tell the farms, hey, you're making too much of this stuff, they like this stuff in this area, let's make more beans or more maize or more potatoes, whatever, instead from next year, so that we're using the land even better. Networking machines, automated machines, will be very ecological, very helpful. It's going to be good for us, for our health. It's going to be good because all this stuff, you remove all the humans, it becomes cheaper. So you can get fresh produce cheaper, which is great, even better. And way, way less waste, so you can reuse more of the land to provide more food for more people, or repatriate the land and to do something else with it. Because about 30% of what is produced in the farms is actually lost in the whole chain, which is inefficient right now. It takes time. So we can transform that into fully automated systems that are talking to each other and learning. And that's really where we're going and where we should bank our money. I don't want to talk about security and hacking and all this stuff. These are all valid concerns that will be resolved by counters that are also fully automated systems that look for people trying to do, people and AI that try to do things that are not supposed to be doing. We will have incidents on that. But I prefer leaving those to the negative aspects, the negative people that want to hold things back and or want to control and doing ethics reviews, which is fine. I mean, people need to be doing that. I just want you guys to dream and to build, and those others that are more concerned with protection and things like that, they can do their job and in holding it back a little bit to make sure that it's going to be safe for people. And if everybody does what they're supposed to be doing, I think we're going to be fine. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed it and hope it gets you to dreaming and also provides you some ideas for opportunities in businesses, because there's huge amounts of transformation that need to happen. And a lot of startups are getting a lot of innovation. There's a lot of acquisitions by big firms in this space. Because small companies start new ideas and do something fresh with it, and big companies kind of gobble them up and implement through their networks, and that's how the consumers get it faster eventually, because it gets out there. All right, so that's going to be it for now. Enjoy your week. I'll see you next week for another installment. Ciao, ciao.